Welcome back. In this section, we'll learn some new skills and use the templates we created in the last video to build our simple contact page for our sample site. As you can see here, we'll be keeping with the general style of our site with a big header image at the top and a nice clean layout at the bottom. We'll be adding a contact form here, as well as a small image grid and some additional text at the bottom. We'll also be configuring a global style that we'll use for all of our buttons, and we'll learn how to use one of the most popular contact form plugins to create a real working contact form for our site. Let's jump in. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to set up our contact page using the templates we saved from our About page and really see the power of these saved templates in Elementor. So I'm here in the WordPress dashboard, and to get to our contact page, I'm going to go over here to the Pages panel. And since we haven't edited this page with Elementor yet, you'll see that it doesn't say Elementor next to it. So to enable that, we'll click on Edit, and that'll take us into the WordPress edit window. And now all we need to do is click Edit with Elementor. So here we have a blank page template, and to add our header image, all we'll need to do is click this folder here, and we'll insert this page banner that we created on the About page. Now this warning will come up that asks us if we want to also import the document settings. We'll just click yes, and there's our page banner. So let's start customizing this for our contact page. Right off the bat, we know we want to change this to say contact. And we're going to want to change the background image as well. So we'll head over to the Style tab, and here's our image. Now, just like the About page, the Resources folder has a folder full of images for the contact page as well, and that's where you'll find the new background image for this section. So go ahead and click on this image, and it'll bring up the media library. Let's go to Upload Files, and while we're at it, we'll just drag in everything from the Resources folder. So here's all of our images. We'll use 4 of these in the image grid a bit later, but this one right here is the header image, so we'll click on that and hit Insert Media, and there we go. Now you can see here that there's a little bit of lack of contrast in the header, and it's a little hard to read the word contact. To fix this, we're going to use another tool that Elementor has built in, and that's over here in the side panel under Background Overlay. So this allows us to adjust this image right on our website without having to use Photoshop or another image editing program to fix this. So we'll just add a solid background overlay to this image. So we'll go in Background Overlay, we'll click Classic, and then we'll change the color. We'll just use black. And you can see already that it's much easier to read. Now that's a little too dark, so we'll drop the opacity a little bit as well. We can see that live update. Let's stick with 0.25. That's 25% opacity. And that looks great. So our header image is already done. Now let's add our content section. To do that, we'll do the same thing we did for the top. We'll click Add Template, and we'll click our 2-column section that we added in the About page. Click Insert. We'll say yes. And just like that, we have a page that matches exactly to our About page. Awesome. Now we'll get in here and we'll start changing this up a bit. Again, the resources have a PDF in them that have all the content, all the text for these pages, so you can go ahead and copy and paste that if you'd like, or you can create your own. We'll use what was in there, so we'll add it over here, and this one is going to say, "Let's chat." And then we have a brief paragraph of copy below that. We'll just copy and paste that as well. And just like that, we've customized our page. Now in the overview, I showed you an image gallery that we're going to put over on this side, so let's do that now. We'll right-click on this image and click Delete, and then we'll go over and add a new widget that we haven't seen yet. It's part of the Phlox theme. So we'll search for Modern, and right there it is, Modern Gallery. We'll drag that over here, and here we'll build our image gallery. So right now in the settings it says there's no images selected, so we'll go in and add some. And we'll create a gallery using these first 4 pictures. Now we'll click Create a New Gallery, And then here we can click and rearrange these however we'd like. Great. Now hit Insert Gallery, and that'll load the gallery in this little widget. Now we want to change this, so let's go into the settings and see what kind of configuration we can do. So we'll keep it set as grid, but then for columns, let's go ahead and change it to 2 columns. Great, already looking better. We'll keep the image spacing the same, that looks pretty nice. And then here where it says image aspect ratio, we want these to be square, so we'll go ahead and change this to 1. And there we go, there's our image gallery. Let's take a look at a couple other settings. Here in the link, we actually don't want these images to link to anything, they're just visuals for the page, so we'll change this to none. And head over to the Style tab to see what we can configure there. So right now, if we hover over these images, there's an overlay and they get smaller. Let's change that overlay color by just dropping the opacity all the way down to 0. And on the zoom, let's play around and see what happens with these. Maybe 80 is better. Great. Now there's only one more thing to add for our content here, and we're going to add it into this right column. So let's go up back to the widget menu, and let's add a heading here under the image gallery. We'll change this one to an H4 to make it a little smaller. And this one says, reach out to learn more about ... Now below that, let's add one more block of text. And there, we'll copy and paste what we have in the PDF. Looking good. Let's take a pause here, and in the next video, we'll learn how to add forms to our WordPress site and configure them to match the style of our page and function exactly the way we'd like. See you then. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to set up the contact form we'll use on our contact page for visitors who might want to reach out and schedule a meeting or inquire about the services our make-believe company offers. Now, in this video, we're going to configure it for this site, but you can follow along and configure this contact form however you'd like. Contact forms are not natively built into WordPress, so there's lots of plugins that provide different kinds of form solutions and contact forms. Elementor actually has one built in if you subscribe to their Pro service, but the most common is actually a free plugin called Contact Form 7, and it's what we're going to use here in our site. So to install this plugin, let's first update our page so we save our changes, and then let's exit to the dashboard. We'll click the WordPress icon to go back one more time, and then we'll head over here to Plugins. Up here we'll click Add New, and we'll search for a plugin called Contact Form 7. And there it is. You can see it's extremely popular with over 5 million active installations, and it's one of the best free contact form plugins out there. So we'll click Install Now, and then we'll click Activate. Once we click Activate, you'll notice over here in the left menu, we have a new item called Contact. Let's click on that to see the Contact Form 7 configuration. So here's the Contact Form 7 window. We'll close out of a couple of these boxes up here just to clear up the space a bit. Now you can create multiple forms with Contact Form 7. There's one already built here, so we'll go ahead and just use this one and customize it for our site. Let's click Edit to go in. Now here's the Contact Form 7 builder area. Now this can look a little confusing, but once you understand how it works, it's quite easy to use. We won't go into all the details here, just what we need to get this form up and running. So you can see here, there's some sort of representation of our form. We can see the label and the input here that they're using, an email, a text, a subject, a message. We're going to customize this a little bit and do it real simply. We're going to keep the your name part. We'd like to know the user's name who's submitting. We'd also like to know their email, and we'll leave these both required. That's what this asterisk is here. Now we don't necessarily need a subject from them if they're just sending us a message, so we can go ahead and just highlight that and erase it. So now we are asking for a user's name, their email, and a message from them. And then down here we can customize our submit button. Right now it says send. We'll leave it like that, but we'll add a little arrow here on the right to make it match the rest of the buttons we'll use later in our site. And that's it. So we'll click Save right now. Now if you'd like to use different inputs in this form, you can select them up here to add them in the form window. Let's go over to the Mail tab and take a look at that. So here's where you set up what happens after the user clicks Send on the contact form. This is auto-populated with the email that Local assigned to us when we installed WordPress. You can go ahead and change it, or if it's a custom email that you added, you can leave it there. We can customize who the email comes from. We can customize the subject, which we'll actually take out the subject since we don't have one anymore. And we'll just say, Move Rest Repeat, Contact Form. We'll set the reply to the user's email. And here we'll see what the message body of the email says. So we'll have it from the name they put in and their email. Again, we'll take out the subject in case it was sent from the contact form. So let's go back up to the top and hit Save one more time. If we go over to the Messages tab, now we can customize some of the messages the user might see when they try to click. If it's been successful, if it's failed, if there's a problem with one of the inputs, we can customize every single one of those in Contact Form 7. We'll leave them as is for now. Now we can look at additional settings and theme settings, but we won't do anything there for this. So let's go back, double check our form real quick. And we actually want to make this message required as well, so we'll add an asterisk right there. We'll save one more time, and now we'll add this to our page. Contact Form 7 uses something called shortcodes to add widgets to pages. This is quite popular in a lot of themes with WordPress, but not really in Elementor. The way a shortcode works is that a plugin generates a code like this. Let's go ahead and copy this. And this tells WordPress everything going on behind the scenes here, based on this short code. So now we'll go back to Pages. We'll go back to our contact page, click Edit with Elementor. We'll scroll down here, and let's search in the widget box for contact form. So here's the Phlox contact form. There's a couple other options, but we'll use this one for now. We'll drag it over, drop it in, and now this is a default contact form for the Phlox theme. And it asks for a user's website, which I wasn't crazy about, and I didn't think that was necessary. So we're actually going to change that. We're going to come over here to Contact Form Type and say Contact Form 7 shortcode. Now we'll paste in that code we found in the plugin menu. And there we go. There's our form. Now this form's already built to be responsive and everything like that, so that's awesome. The one thing we will do is change this button style. And then in a future video, we'll actually assign that style to the global buttons all across our site. So to do that, we can go in here to the contact form, and we can adjust all kinds of things with each of the inputs, the labels, the buttons, everything like that. The only two small adjustments we're going to make are first in the text area. So let's click that and open it up. And we're going to actually just make the height of this text area a little bit smaller. I don't think most people will be sending super long messages. Now we'll go down to the Submit button, and we'll leave it as is with a couple changes. Let's go ahead into the typography and change it to Montserrat, our body font. Now let's change the weight to normal. Let's change the transform to capitalize. And let's change the size to 16. There, that looks great. Now, let me introduce to you another setting in Elementor and CSS that allows us to customize shapes a little bit, and it's called border radius. So for this button, we can actually tell the border to have a radius to it, or a curve. So to show you what I'm talking about, go ahead in here and let's just set 25 pixels of border radius. See how our button became rounded? That's great. Let's go back up to the typography and let's adjust the line height a little bit to make this look even better. So we'll just shrink it down as low as it'll go, 0.1. And now we have a nice round button that looks great. Let's click Update to save this. And now let's actually preview this page. We can do that by clicking this eye icon down here. Click Preview Changes, and it'll open our page in a new window. Now this looks great. Let's go ahead and actually send an email and see if it works. Type our name and our email and a brief message. Then we'll hit send. And great. It says thank you for your message. It has been sent. Now how do we know if it really did send? Well, this is an awesome feature built into Local that allows us to check these things. So let's navigate over to Local and go to Utilities. And here you'll see something called MailHog. Now MailHog is a service that Local uses to kind of simulate all of the email going through your site while you're developing it. So let's click Open MailHog. And there we go. We can see we have a new email from a few seconds ago. And if we click it, it says it's from me at my email, and here's my message. Great. So it's working. All right, well, this page is looking great. In the next video, we're going to wrap this section up just by making sure everything still looks good responsively. We've changed a few things with the layout here. Want to make sure that they look good on tablets and mobile devices. And then we'll also set a global button style so that we can make sure these buttons match all across our site. See you then. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to wrap up our contact page by making some responsive design adjustments to accommodate the new elements we used on this page, as well as set a global button style so we can be sure all of the buttons on our website match. Now, all of our settings stayed the same when we imported our sections, which is great, but since we added a few new elements, it's still a good idea to go in and double check everything. So let's go down here and see what our page looks like on a tablet. That's looking pretty great. Now we can see here that we still have this column set to invisible because that was part of the template we saved. I think on this page we actually want to show it. So let's go up here to Column Settings. We'll go over to Advanced and Responsive, and we'll go ahead and unhide that from tablet and mobile. Now let's go to Layout, and let's actually set that to be 100% on a tablet. There we go. Now those pictures are a little large, so let's make an adjustment to the image grid. We'll click the edit icon here and go over to our image gallery. And let's say that on tablets, we want 4 columns. There we go. Now we can still highlight those 4 images, but they aren't quite as big on an iPad. Let's go ahead and move down to a mobile device and see what it looks like there. Okay, still looks pretty great. Now here maybe we want to go back to how we had it laid out before. It looks a little funny with 4 giant images all in a row. So let's go to our image gallery here, and let's change the number of columns to 2 columns. And that'll kind of build it back the way it was at the beginning. And there we go. That looks great. Again, we can really see the power of using templates because we don't have to go back in and change every single piece of margin and padding on every element when we want to duplicate the same style across a website. Let's click Update real quick. And then before we go, let's make one final adjustment to our site. Let's go back out to the desktop view. And let's make one more adjustment. We're going to set a global button style that matches the style we set here for this button, so that all the buttons we use in the future match. So we'll click up here on the menu icon and click Site Settings and then go to Buttons. Now let's get to work styling our button. I like the way this one looks that we used on our contact form. So we'll set the text color to white. We'll set the background color to a custom color. We'll use #4444444. We'll also set a border, a solid border, that's 1 pixel wide, and we'll make it that same color, 444444. Now, we can also set what we'd like to happen when a button hovers by clicking on Hover. And when we hover this button, we'd basically like to do the inverse. So what we're going to do is change the text color to 444444, and we're going to change the background color to white. We'll add a solid border, 1 pixel wide, of the same 444444 color. And that's it. So we'll click Update, and congratulations, we've completed another page of our website. We'll close out of these site settings here, take one last look. Yep, everything looks great. In the next section, we'll take a look at one of the features that made WordPress so popular to begin with and helped it become all it is today. Hope to see you then.